Happy Tuesday. Welcome to another episode of Blood, Sweat, and Tears presented by the Fantasy Holics Podcast Network. With us, as always, is wide receiver one room. Well, I shouldn't say always. This is the first time in a while we've all been back together. Zach Brown, Brian Bruner, Mr. Oviedo here. Man, we're fresh off maybe one of the most exciting Week 18s ever. And then, man, there's a whole bunch of coach firings, coaches packing up and moving. I think Raheem Morris was fired before he left the stadium on Sunday. And then I thought the a pink slip match Sunday night with the Ravens and Steelers. It felt like a given. Whichever team lost that game, the coach was going to be updating his LinkedIn profile. And here we are. What a week. And on top of all that, the NFL playoffs start this week.
Yeah.
Color me wildly shocked about Harbaugh being fired. I did not think. I mean, even if they got routed in that game, I did not think they would move on from Harbaugh. I mean, he's got one of the best overall records in the NFL in the last 18, 19 years. He's been the coach or something wild like that. So I was saying to you guys in the chat before, this reminds me exactly of when Philadelphia had to move on from Andy Reid. Everyone knew he was a good coach. Everyone knew he'd be successful, but just the relationship had soured in Philly, and the Chiefs hired him 30 seconds after he was fired, and a dynasty was created. So Harbaugh will be the first hire, or maybe not the first hire, but he will have his choice. Whatever is the most appealing to him, that franchise will want him over everybody else available, and he'll be successful because he's just that kind of dude. But I was blown away when I saw that come across. I think you guys just said something about the Ravens opening. I was like, what the fuck you mean Ravens opening? I was at work most of the day, so I didn't get to see any of the pop-up news, but here we are.
Yeah, it was crazy to see that, but it was one of those where the recent success hasn't necessarily been there, so I can understand it. Now, I figured it'd be probably more of an amicable split in the next year or two if they really couldn't do much. I mean, you're talking about a short chip field goal away. That's Harbaugh did everything he could to win that game. Just because they lost it doesn't mean he should lose his job in that case. But to me, he must have either been losing it either way unless they made it to the Super Bowl really deep in the playoffs because it's not as that chip field goal is he did everything he could to set up his kicker for success. So yeah, there's some amazing week 8s. You're right. And there seem to be fewer players sitting in week 18 than usual, or fewer big name players that were sitting. Now you had some like the Eagles were sitting, Hurts and AJ Brown and such, but it just seemed to be more important that everyone was playing this week, which made a great week of football.
You almost could have played a Week 18 game. Almost, not quite. The Week 18 fantasy lineup.
The Eagles sat almost all of their starters. The Slim Reaper got put out there to obtain his 1,000 yards. Grabbed a couple on the first drive, and then sat after that. So that was cool.
Yeah. It was interesting, especially for the Eagles, because if they had won, they would have had the 2 seed. So
and they were pretty close too with the backups.
Yeah, it's tough because, at that point, you get a little bit of a matchup difference. But I understand wanting to sit those guys because you don't want to risk that injury, and it's not like you have a chance of playing the Panthers. If you had a chance of playing the Panthers, that would be a different story. But as a 3 seed, it's going to go to Seattle anyway if they win.
Right. Well, yeah. Seattle would have the one. You're playing it. Seattle doesn't lose. You're playing in Seattle.
Yeah.
No matter what. So obviously the higher seeds, the better, because then if there's a possibility to get to host the second home game or whatever the case. But, it is what it is. Listening to Sports Talk Radio the last, day and Sirianni's getting roasted by a lot of callers. Oh, he should have played his guys. Well, Sirianni has done nothing but fucking win since he showed up. His record is phenomenal, and he's just makes the playoffs every year, and he's gone to 2 Super Bowls and could potentially go to another one this year. So I'm not one of the people to be hard on Nick. Whatever he's doing has been working.
Yeah, imagine a world in which your team had a Andy Reid or a John Harbaugh at their disposal to fire. You have this Hall of Fame coach, Tony Dungy, back from the Colts days. We're gonna part ways with him and go hire some retread or some college guru or someone from the McVay tree. No, don't. But I digress.
Well, we've been talking a lot about Week 18. Let's pull up the graphic. We're going to not do a deep review, but kind of talk about a couple of key points from Week 18 that we saw before we have a whole lot of stuff for you this week. Talking about playoffs, coaching vacancies. We're going to review our hot takes and show a couple things that you'll be seeing in this offseason. So we got a lot of good stuff coming your way. But yeah. I mean, we're talking about Week 18. There was some amazing Zay Flowers. We were talking about the Ravens briefly there. That field goal. Zay Flowers had 2 touchdowns over 60 yards. He looked electric.
Back to back. I would say this. I was watching that game. I worked Sunday, so the only game I got to really pay attention to and watch every snap. And hell of exciting. I mean, Christ, talk about the kicker emotion roller coaster. Boswell, Mr. Automatic, misses that extra point, first one in 4 years. And it's like, oh my God, the Ravens are going to fucking win this game after Likely gets that catch, makes it a chip shot. And then the rookie Lute fucking misses and ends up more or less costing Harbaugh his job.
Yeah.
I mean, Christ, how does that got to feel for the rookie kicker's just psyche and emotion? My God.
Yeah.
I don't even know if they can bring him back next year. Anyhow, the Zay Flowers thing, it was back-to-back possessions. And it's as great of a play as it was by Lamar and by Zay Flowers, it was just 2 complete fuck-ups by the Steelers defense. It was like they bit on play action harder than I've ever seen a defense bite on play action in the history of NFL football. Back-to-back plays, more or less. It was just silly. But, I mean, yeah, good for them for calling it and executing it well. And no one has ever questioned Zay Flowers' electricity or speed or ability to run after the catch. I mean, he's awesome. I have Zay Flowers, I think, is one of my higher rostered players in Dynasty, and I've always kind of held a candle for him, or whatever that saying is. Always like Zay Flowers, and he's clearly going to be the one there going forward. So hopefully they can maybe get a little bit higher pass volume. That's generally the only thing that ever holds him back, is that they just have a game where Lamar throws 15 times because they don't have to throw more than that.
Yeah, I think the Steelers were scared to death of Lamar and Henry, rightfully so. And the prevent defense prevents you from winning. And there's usually 7 or 8 players deep, not letting up the big play. It was the complete opposite of that. Collinsworth used the telestrator, and Zay Flowers ran maybe 10 yards and was wide open, and Flowers caught the ball and looked 50 yards ahead with no one ahead of him. The most open you'll ever see a player for in a pivotal Week 18 playoff atmosphere, to be that wide open. Wow.
Yeah.
His openness was only rivaled by Calvin Austin on that Rodgers touchdown, because the fucking D-back fell down.
Yeah.
Everybody, I love that everybody's kissing Rodgers' ass, like, oh, vintage Aaron Rodgers. The fucking D-back fell down. He was playing 7-on-7 drills and mesh shorts to throw that touchdown. But yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, as always, I was watching the Bears game, and the Bears did what they usually do, which is going to cost them in the playoffs. They did nothing for 3 quarters. Then all of a sudden they're like, oh, we know how to play football. And then they almost come back and almost beat the Lions and send it to overtime. And Amon-Ra St. Brown, he had, I think, 110 yards in the first half. It is I think I wish the Lions could have made the playoffs just with how they've been playing the last few weeks. It's just so electric. I think they could make a big splash in it. I mean, Monroe's looking great. Gibbs is finally picking up. Jamison Williams is doing great. It's unfortunate the Lions went from what they were the 1 seed last year, and now they're out of the playoffs. Like, I think 3 or 4 of the top teams people expected to make the Super Bowl before the season are not in the playoffs. You got the Lions, you got the Ravens, you got the Chiefs. Like, that's just crazy. To some extent, some people could say the Bengals, like the Bucks were expected to be semi-good. Like, it's crazy.
They were for 8 weeks.
Vikings. Yeah.
One of the many reasons that it's by far my favorite sport, man. It's just so much diversity every single year. There's teams that have no business making the playoffs that make it. Christ, just rewind 1 year. The Jaden Daniels led Commanders go have that incredible season and then go into fucking Detroit and beat the Lions in the playoffs. Like, just there was no one on earth. The Commanders fans didn't bet on that happening, but it happened. So here we are, man. Anything can happen in these playoffs, and who knows? We could have a 2 5 seeds in the Super Bowl or something. I mean, it's just so many ways, so many outcomes. Love it. That's the other big favorite thing about football is it's not a 5-game series or a 7-game series, man. It's just who's better that one day on that last drive or last 2 drives, and I fucking love it, man. And now I can actually really enjoy watching football without sweating all the fantasy points and just the beauty of the game. I always tell people, man, it's like violent chess. Watching 2 good football teams, a good offense versus a good defense, it's fucking violent chess, and it's the best.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. And you're right. It's so much can happen. So much can change. Like, yeah, you're right. The Commanders upset Detroit, and now their head coach got fired.
And it was a lost season for Daniels, and just a mess.
Yeah, and it's not like the coaching was bad. Like, your star quarterback went down. Terry McLaurin was out for half the season. You decided to ship off your running backs and trust this rookie that was good for 3 games. Like, some of it you could say is him, but yeah, it's crazy to think. Like, I don't think anyone expected the Sam Darnold led Seahawks to be the number 1 seed. I think everyone expected maybe playoffs.
Yeah, with them, it's just been their defense has really just went fucking crazy. I mean, they were pretty solid all year, but it just seems like the back half of the year, their defense has just been completely unstoppable. Like, they're just no one's scoring fantasy points against them. Sit your quarterback against the Seahawks. It doesn't matter if it's a good quarterback or not. It's just been, defense as much as this has become an offensive league. If you have a defense that just dominates people, you're going to win. Circa my Eagles Super Bowl last year. I mean, look what they did to them. It had much more to do with the defense doing what they did to Patrick Mahomes than what the offense did in that game. So, yeah. Even in 2026, man, defense wins championships.
And I don't know if it's I can't wrap my mind around it or what. Like, I can't believe the Jaguars are hosting a home playoff game.
That's who I was going to pop in and say, like, this time last year, we were writing off Travis Etienne. He lost the job to Tank Bigsby. Trevor Lawrence is a bust. Then Liam Cohen has his silly Duval press conference, and you're like laughing. And even halfway through this season, when we were doing like buy or sell, I had Kyler Murray with Trevor Lawrence. How ridiculous does that look right now?
Crazy.
Well, I mean, Lawrence really turned it on the last half of the season. The first half, you were right. I mean, but then Kyler, he got injury benched? Question mark. It seems like he's not going to be in Arizona, but yeah. Actually, we have our first comment mentioning Sam Darnold. That he's a mediocre quarterback who's benefited being at teams with great defense in the Vikings and Seahawks. And there definitely is merit to that. Granted, the offensive weapons he had with the Vikings that he did well with Justin Jefferson, with Addison, and JSN with Seattle, but you can see the ghost of Cooper Kupp, even Torrey Horton, who's a good rookie. Sam Darnold needs the pieces around him to be talented to do well. And that's why we saw kind of him do better with the Vikings. Granted, I mean, I'm talking more maybe stat wise and such, but yeah, he's a quarterback that is beneficial off of the talent around him rather than he elevates the talent around him, is kind of how I would put it.
Yeah, I will beat no drum for Sam Darnold being the reason that these teams had success, but I will give him credit that he's become such a more competent, capable, reliable quarterback in the last couple of years, and it's not that horribly surprising. He was a very blue chip prospect, second or third overall pick in the draft. Obviously, for a reason, you don't draft quarterbacks there on a hunch, really. And he just played on some of the worst teams you could ever want to play on as a young buck. He was also, if I remember correctly, he was like a stupid young rookie. Like he was one of the younger, Stafford types, like barely 21 or something like that. Not 100% sure there, but I think that was also part of it. So, not to mention, he had, at a young age, even though they were bad starts and a lot of losses, he got a lot of NFL experience and starts under his belt. So by the time he got to Minnesota last year, he wasn't really shocked or freaked out by the bright lights or starting. And, you put a reliable defense and some good weapons around him. I mean, I just saw this stat today. JSN had the 8th best yardage total in NFL history for a receiver. He had like almost 1,800 yards this year. It was the 8th in NFL history. So, yeah, he saw what butters his bread and got the ball there. So good for him. But yeah, by no means am I going to sit here and say Sam Darnold's some wonderful quarterback and deserves awards or should be put in the same category as excellent passers or anything like that. But he gets it done, man, and will probably only continue to improve if he stays in a good environment like this.
And you're right, Sam Darnold was drafted at the age of 20 by the Jets, moved up to pick him 3rd overall.
Yep.
And I don't know if you noticed, I saw Patrick have a flashback when you said you don't draft a quarterback 3rd overall on a whim with Anthony Richardson, but
he was 4th. He was 4th overall, I think.
Yes, unfortunately.
Oh, yeah. So
I wanted to look at this real quick when you had mentioned the Jags briefly about how they really turned it on, and it's pretty surprising what they did. I had to pull up old Parker Washington, man, and his game log. If you look at the last 8 games of the season for the Jaguars, Parker Washington was a top 15 fantasy wide receiver 5 of those 8 games.
Yeah.
And like a top 10 in 3 of them. Like, really fucking impressive what he did. He's a free agent, and I can't imagine they let him walk. It's not that they don't have this weird wide receiver situation. They just paid Jacoby Myers. They have Brian Thomas in this weird limbo of like, what the fuck happened this year? And then I heard multiple pods and rumblings and social media posts about like, there's a pretty high probability that they make Travis Hunter mainly a D-back next year.
Yeah.
Because if they re-sign Parker Washington, you're looking at Brian Thomas, Parker Washington, Jacoby Myers, and Brenton Strange, who was very good this year, all as pass catchers. Like, why would the Jaguars, other than maybe some trickery, put Travis Hunter out there to not catch passes or compete with all that? So, yeah, he could end up being like a disaster pick for Dynasty, considering he was a top end 1st round pick for most people as a wide receiver. But we'll see. I mean, if they let Washington walk or some team gives him some big contract based on this, and there's also rumors of them trading Brian Thomas. I mean, there's definitely still a world where Travis Hunter is like a top target for them, but who knows?
Yeah,
It's an embarrassment of riches.
That was always a concern with Hunter, and that's why I had him in my tier 1 prospect last year. But I really was like, there's a 50-50, he goes full D-back or 90% D-back. And yeah, with Parker Washington coming out, it's hard to see that not happening. I'm looking forward to this, and that's something we'll talk about later today. Is I'll be doing a wide receiver analysis almost every week throughout the offseason on either wide receivers that underperformed or ones that overperformed to get an idea of, are we going to see a repeat? What's going to happen? And Brian Thomas Jr. is going to be one I'm very interested in seeing. Preliminarily, what I saw is he had a main change in his depth of target. His depth of target last year versus this year is about 3 yards deeper this year. Meaning they just told him to go deep routes and we'll get you the ball. And they had Parker Washington play the slot, come under. They had Travis Hunter play under, even Christian Kirk, Jacoby Myers. And so that kind of explains some of it with Brian Thomas being inconsistent or not having as much. Is it's kind of what we talked about, the Marvin Harrison Jr. effect of you're a talented wide receiver, play go routes on the outside and we'll get you the ball. And that doesn't work. They started playing more around their other players or running backs, and Brian Thomas Jr. That's an interesting one that I'm looking forward to diving into to see is he gonna go up or stay as a one-hit wonder next year.
And the Jags did this all with Shane Waldron in the way. Maybe he's redeemed himself.
Did you guys see that episode of Blood, Sweat, and Tears from the preseason when I faded Brian Thomas when he was all the hotness? There
you go.
I was like, dude, he's not. I'm not saying he sucks, but he's not going to be where we're drafting him. Fuck that.
True.
So just, I mean, we have a lot to talk about, so I feel like we should not spend that much time on the fucking Week 18 scoreboard. I do have the wide receiver points per game pulled up because I love looking at points per game. And Zay Flowers, after that big, double touchdown performance on Sunday night, Week 18, he pushed himself up to wide receiver 12 on the year for points per game. Yeah.
Wow.
Now, granted, this is the exact scenario of Drake London last year, where a monster Week 18 that did nothing for us in fantasy boosted his overall stats. But, give Zay his flowers. Wide receiver 12 on the year, a technical wide receiver 1.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, and quickly another comment that kind of affirms what we said with the Jaguars. Hunter looked lost until right before he got hurt, especially kind of on the offensive side. Parker Washington, great wide receiver 2 there. Yeah, that's going to be very interesting wide receiver room to go through. Even if they trade someone, that would be very interesting to see. But yeah, anything else of note before we dive into? I think we'll dive into our talking about playoff matchups and our predictions each week in the playoffs. We are going to each say who we think is going to win each matchup. So it's going to be very interesting. We'll keep track of it to see who has the best record.
Yeah, the Colts tried to fake punt on back-to-back plays. It was impressive. They Roberto Sanchez threw for a first down, got the first down, and on first down, they ran a fake punt. It was just Week 18 at its best.
I saw something about that, and I just was like, I'm just misreading that. It's too early in the morning. Like, what?
Yeah, they lined up to punt on first down, and then they just hiked it to the up man, and they got the first down, but there was a flag, and then they came to their senses and lost. But hey.
And then just real quick, just to touch on the last comment there about Washington, I think even with all that they have going on with their pass catchers, I think it would be idiotic for the Jaguars not to give Washington a deal warranting what he did to keep him there, because the Jaguars turned it on in the second half. Trevor Lawrence is playing by far the best football of his career, and Parker Washington has been the biggest part of that. So they clearly have the mind meld thing going on. Washington's not going to warrant some massive contract. They'll be able to keep him for a very reasonable price. So I'll say it right now. That's if they let him walk, I think that is a fucking idiotic move on their part.
I don't know. Some of these teams are very wide receiver needy. I mean, go back 4 years, Christian Kirk. If you remember, he was in the offseason. He was like, he's going to move somewhere. He's going to do well. And then all of a sudden you hear Jacksonville Jaguars signed Christian Kirk 4 years, $72 million. You're like,
yeah,
I didn't think he was worth half of that.
Yeah.
So some of these wide receiver needy teams might come in and say, hey, Parker Washington, come. We'll pay you $20 million if you come to us. And it's going to be really hard for him to try and stay home. But that it depends on if the Jaguars get a deal done with him before free agency. That's going to be the key.
I recall the Christian Kirk thing very clearly. It was a super week. He was like the big fish in that wide receiver free agency market.
Yep.
I'm not sure off the top of my head how this year's looks. I can't imagine Parker Washington's the belle of the ball though. So I'd hope you could keep him for a reasonable price. But you're right. The teams throw money around like crazy. If some of the higher end free agents get bought up at high prices real fast, Washington go. But I just, personal opinion, with what I've seen with my own eyes, with how Washington is playing with Lawrence and how the Jaguars really lit it up in this last half, sign that dude. Keep him around for Lawrence. It's working.
It's a weaker free agency class in the extent of most of the good guys are older. Mike Evans, Christian Kirk, Deebo Samuel, Adam Thielen, Marquise Brown, Juwan Jennings, Rashid Shaheed. You're talking about a bunch of old vets that might have some gas in the tank, and the young guys you're talking about that are free agents are
George Pickens is a free agent.
Pickens, yeah, but Dallas is going to sign him.
He's not old though.
They sign him, yeah, but he's technically a free agent. I mean, a team could offer somebody could offer him like even more money than Jerry's going to offer him, possibly.
The other big names that are young. I mean, Rashid Shaheed, who's 27, who's 26 and under. You're looking at Wan'Dale Robinson as the best one.
Let's not besmirch Wan'Dale. He had himself a nice fucking season. The shortest receiver of all time to have 1,000-yard season. I heard that somewhere.
Actually, I'm not even seeing Parker Washington on here. Is he signed for another year?
He's an inch shorter than Wes Welker. Is what I heard. That Welker holding the record as shortest guy with 1,000-yard season. I heard
Parker Washington signed for another year. He signed through 2026.
I think he might be like an RFA or something. Though I've heard more than one spot bring him up that the Jags would need to re-sign him or restructure him or something along those lines.
I'm seeing he's a 4-year rookie contract. He was drafted in 23, so that his rookie contract goes through next year.
No shit. I swear it was like even the CBS podcast. I heard them bring up that they'd have to re-sign him or something along those lines, but maybe they were wrong. All right, well, fair enough. We got another year. We got another year of Parker Washington, so let's go. Yeah. Free money in dynasty leagues, man.
There you go. Yeah, especially if you can get them cheap. Okay, moving on to wild card weekend. We have 6 very interesting matchups coming. We can kind of, I think, go through each one, give our keys to victory, and then kind of keys to victory to each team that we think of briefly, and then give who we think is going to win. We have the Ravens on bye, or the Rams on bye this week. First, the Panthers to start us off.
I thought you misspoke there, but the Rams have already traveled to Carolina and lost once this year. So,
true story.
So we have
what is those West Coast teams moving east?
But
it's an afternoon game, not a noon game.
It's a Saturday game, so they'll have even less time.
True.
Yeah, we have our home teams on the left. I feel like that's usually the other way around when you're looking at the side-by-side matchup. But yeah, the home teams are all on the left for what that.
I was replicating our Fantasy Holics worksheet, home teams left, away teams on the right. So Panthers versus Rams would be Panthers being the home team. But yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah. So they're all, but so all good. Like we don't need to touch much on the good for the Panthers for making the playoffs. I think it's, another year in that regiment will stick around. Young and Canales and all good for them. But let's just advance the Rams. Jags,
Yep.
Bills. It's so hard to bet against Josh Allen because other than like the AFC Championship, and even in those games, he's always Superman. It seems to be they lose not because of him. Like he does everything he can, and then he just has to be on the sideline watching his defense lose to the other team. But that being said, the Jaguars are playing so fucking hot, and it's in their building that I'm going to take the Jags here. I don't know. That's probably the less than popular opinion, but I think the Jags are going to fucking win this game. They're just whatever they're doing right now is just working. They're smelling their shit. They're feeling it. I feel like they can get it done, man. They can run the ball. ETN's running the ball well. They can pass the ball. They have a fucking good defense. And the Bills, I feel like, are so one dimensional with James. James Cook's their whole offense. They can't. Yeah. Josh Allen's doing nothing in the air. So if I'm the Jags, Operation 1 is shut down James Cook. Operation 2 is don't let Josh Allen run for more than 5 or 7 yards a clip, and then beat me with fucking Dawson Knox and Khalil Shakir.
Yeah. You took the words out of my mouth. I was going to say the only way the Jags are going to lose it is if they don't stack 7 in the box, put a spy on Josh Allen, and then just let the cornerbacks 1v1 the wide receivers, because that's the only way the Bills win is when James Cook goes for 150 yards and 2 touchdowns. Like Josh Allen is still an amazing fantasy quarterback, but the Bills' wins come from James Cook controlling the game for them. And I don't think that's going to happen. I would agree. I think the Jaguars are going to pull off the victory here.
Jaguars at home, that run defense is legit. That entire defense is tremendous. The Jaguars, fewest rush attempts against, fewest yards allowed. They only have to stop Allen and Cook. It can be done, and this could be like a 10 to 13 point win for the Jags. Like 23-10. My score predictions have been a little off, but I think the Jags, it's a statement game for the Jags.
Yeah.
Just quick hedge though. I will say, even though they've been all James Cook has been fucking amazing. He looks like he is shot out of a damn rocket ship as soon as they give him the ball. So if James Cook ends up having 160 yards and 2 touchdowns, let's not act like that's a complete impossibility. So my own personal money and my gut, I'm taking the Jags. But if the Bills win and James Cook has 150 and 2, then, he's done it a lot of times this year.
Yeah. Even another comment agrees. Josh Allen needs wide receiver help.
And their defense isn't that good either, yeah.
Yeah. They need a little help. And then we'll move to the Bears-Packers after we do my Patriots. I love my Patriots. I love we're in the playoffs. I love we're the 2 seed, 3 seed. I don't even know.
2, I think.
2. We're losing to the Chargers.
No, stop it with your reverse jinx shit.
No. We have beat 3 teams with a winning record this season. Maybe 4. Like, if we have the wins to be the 2 seed, but our track record, what we have done this season, is a great jumping point. But the strength of schedule just was not there whatsoever. And I don't think it's going to be an upset. I love the Chargers and what they're doing. Hampton's coming back, pushing through. I mean, if we can control the game with Stevenson, Henderson rips off some big ones, and Drake May does what he does, maybe, but or unless it's 20 20 degrees with a foot of snow, and the Chargers don't know how to handle that. But I don't think our defense is good enough to stop all the weapons at the Chargers, and I got the Chargers coming out victorious.
So here's why I respectfully disagree with you, man. I'm going to tell you a quick story. I have my mom's brother, my Uncle Pat. Great dude. He's about 63 years old. He's got a real bad back. Other than that, wonderful guy. He's a father figure to me. Love the guy. At last check, he's playing right tackle for the Chargers in this game. And they're going to just push him over and get to Justin Herbert at will and get to Marion Hampton at will. This is the worst offensive line that has ever made the playoffs. And it's not worse as in they don't have any talent. It's the worst because they don't have any starters left. They're literally playing practice squad players. You don't win without an offensive line. Mike Vrabel will scheme that up and make it work. I'd be blown away if the Patriots lose this game. But, you're right. They had a soft schedule, and we'll see. But I'd bet every dollar I have that the Patriots win this week.
Yeah, you want to hear a funny story? The Raiders beat the Patriots this year in week 1. A long time ago in a galaxy far away, but I think Herbert's hand is still busted up. Like Brian said, the offensive line is atrocious. If it was in Los Angeles, I'd have a different opinion, but the Patriots are hot. Henderson's been hot. Incredible. But if they do happen to lose, Stephon Diggs will be there for his super sad looking at the celebration photo, which is like a yearly tradition.
I'm looking at our schedule. We beat 2 playoff teams this season.
Okay.
One of them, the Carolina Panthers. We went 1-1 against Buffalo. We lost against Pittsburgh. The Patriots had the 3rd weakest schedule with their opponents combined for a record of .429, which was only better than the Saints and the 49ers. So it's going to be very interesting to see kind of what happens for sure. For me, if we lose, it's a successful season still. It's successful because we made the playoffs to the 2 seed, but Patriots fan, I'm taking the Chargers.
Patriots win, and Justin Herbert's jersey is going to be so dirty and fucked up and ripped at the end of that game that no one's even going to want it. Like they're just going to throw it away. It's not even going to get archived.
I drink to that. I'll take it.
That's my thought. Next game, I'm taking the fucking cardiac Bears. They're going to somehow be down in the 4th quarter and win at the end.
Are they going to be?
I think so.
Are the Packers healthier than the Chargers?
They rested up Josh Jacobs. Hopefully he's back to 80%. We'll see. But the Bears just do that. The Bears play down to their competition every week. They could be playing the fucking Panthers and they would be down in the 4th quarter and then have some miracle comeback.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a very stressful game for any Bears fan to watch.
Like all of them.
Yeah, I think the Bears are healthier, assuming Odunze plays. Luther Burden's come alive. Loveland's come alive. Manange's awesome. Ben Johnson is a genius. And the Packers feel like they're limping into the playoffs. Like Josh Jacobs had that 3-yard game. Matthew Golden's a healthy scratch. Christian Watson's hot and cold. Dobbs is hot and cold. Love seemingly is the Woody Marks of quarterbacks. He's hurt seemingly every week. Every other week he misses time. A game plan might be for the Bears to let Jordan Love because you don't want to see Malik Bliss. I wouldn't want to see Malik Bliss. I'd let Love stay in the game.
Yeah. It's going to be tough. I'll say this. For the Bears to win it, I think they need to have 150 rushing yards with a lead going into the fourth quarter. I think all these fourth quarter comebacks is just too much. And I think it's possible. I also want to correct one thing that you said, Patrick, because I've been having this debate all week with people. Burden is not on a roll. He had one great game and one good game, and it's been average or below average. I see people saying Burden is a top 15 dynasty wide receiver now because what he's done, like everything. He had that amazing game against San Francisco, but he had 3 catches for 35 yards last week. He had he's had 3 or 4 catches, and it really depends on the how his yards after the catch. Really, he's had 2 good games. 8 for 9 for 138 and 1 touchdown against San Francisco, and that really pushed him off. Week 15, Cleveland 6 for 7 for 84 yards, which is still good, but not amazing. Burden is everything I'm seeing about Burden is he's going to be a 60 to 70% of the snap guy, and he's going to come in, be electric, but he's getting the 4th most snaps with the Dunze out. So Burden is going to help them win, but the key is going to be if they can have consistency at the wide receiver plus the running game. Like if a Dunze can be back in, if DJ Moore can show up, like the games that the Bears do well with the Dunze out, DJ Moore has shined. The ones where they struggle, DJ Moore hasn't been able to do anything. I think it's Brian's guy that is the key to the Bears' victory. The run game plus DJ Moore.
Man, he'll always be my guy. It's less and less fun.
Yeah. I think he might have a big game.
He was sick. That was the whole thing. He was physically ill. That's why he hasn't been participating. So I can relate. I think we all can. We've all been dealing with a bug here and there recently.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think we're all on board that it's the Bears here. If this game was Green Bay, I'd give it a much more of a coin flip. But I think just given that it's given that it's not in Lambeau, that I'll take the Bears here. I'm obviously taking the fucking Eagles, but I will say that it's mainly not because I'm just so confident that they're so much better than the Niners, but the Niners defense is really decimated overall, and their offense has looked the last week, man, they looked fucking bad. Purdy was like turning the ball over like crazy after a couple monster games fantasy wise. They looked really bad, and they seem fairly if just put everything on McCaffrey, just double, triple, have a spy on him, have Zach Bond just line up and just run everywhere where McCaffrey's going. Make sure that Kittle's, taken account for. If Purdy can beat us throwing the ball to Jennings and Pearsall, I just don't think that's going to happen. The Eagles defense is healthier. Jalen Carter is going to play. It's in Philly. The Link this time of year in the cold, nobody wants to fucking come in there. It's as hostile and awesome of an environment. I've been to a playoff game at the Link. It's just remarkable. So fun. So I think all that combined with just the Eagles being a better overall team than them, given the Niners are missing Nick Bosa and missing Fred Warner, I think the Eagles take this. I'm sure it'll be stressful because all Eagles games are stressful and they come down to the wire, but taking the Birds here.
Seeing the Bears-Niners game a couple weeks ago, that's all I needed to see. That defense is gassed. McCaffrey will keep it interesting, but Eagles defense is healthier in Philly. Not a chance.
So this is why I think the 49ers will win. They won't.
Okay.
Had to psych you out there. No. I think there's 2 reasons that the 49ers are going to get blown out here. As I looked up there, the Patriots had the 3rd easiest schedule. The easiest schedule
the 49ers.
were the 49ers.
They were a fourth place team last year. They had a fourth place schedule. Yeah.
Yeah. So they had the easiest schedule in the NFL versus opposing record. Plus, their team is just so injury ridden on the offense, on the defense. Like, I'm surprised they can actually field a team that isn't practice squad people at this point. So I think the Eagles will. I mean, you're also talking about a West Coast team coming east. Like,
Sucks.
everything is against the 49ers in their favor. Granted, it's an afternoon game, but still, it's, Philly might be a little colder for those 49ers. Like, I think I think the Eagles are going to give the Rams a run for their money on how big of a blowout the game is going to be.
Fair.
No. This game might be a blowout, but man, I think the Panthers win. I got the Panthers over the Rams, but
we missed that. We skipped right over it because we all just thought the Rams would crush them.
No, the Panthers have already beat the Rams in Carolina. I'm sticking to it.
Okay. So we have two disagreements so far. I got the Patriots, you two got the Chargers. Brian and I got the Rams, you got the Panthers. The rest we agree on.
So I think what the 49ers were actually all season long a victim to Christian McCaffrey really did just siphon the health off of every fucking player on both sides of the ball.
Whatever voodoo ritual he did.
Christian McCaffrey's been the only entity for the 49ers on either side of the ball that just stayed healthy all year.
Yeah, and I don't think anyone could have ever said that.
That's the silliest statement ever. Like, man, everybody went down like flies on the Niners, but Christian McCaffrey played fucking 17. Like, how crazy is that?
Yeah. Okay. Steelers, Texans. Note, the Texans did just have Riley Leonard tear their defense a new one, but Nico Collins was sitting.
Right.
Some of their defense might have been sitting. So that's temper the expectations on Riley Leonard. But who do you have? Texans at Steelers, home game. You got Aaron Rodgers. Their running game is looking good. This might be the closest one of the weekend.
I think this is a blowout.
You think? Oh, for who?
Texans, big.
I have Texans too. I wouldn't say blowout. I think this is going to be one of the uglier games of the week. I think that the Texans defense, talking about it earlier, even in this passing day and age, defense wins championships, and the Texans have arguably the best defense in football. I think they're good enough to shut down what the Steelers do with Aaron Rodgers and Kenny Gainwell, and DK Metcalf is back. He's been sitting cold for a couple weeks, and let's face it, he wasn't doing that much this year. The average DK Metcalf stat line was like 3 catches for 60 yards all year. So yeah, give me the Texans, but I don't think blowout. I think this will be kind of a not that fun to watch 17-13 game or something along those lines.
I don't think it's going to be a blowout in the extent of it's not going to be a high scoring game. Like I was interested. I'm looking at ESPN for spreads. ESPN's over under for Texans Steelers 39.5 points.
Okay.
So they're expecting like a 17-22, 17-20 type matchup, which is the lowest of the weekend by a good 5-6 points. Betting lines, they're against a couple of our picks. Betting lines, the biggest blowout is Rams by far. Rams are favored by 10.5 at Panthers. Packers
did they have? When we have to look that up. When is the last time a home playoff team was fucking 10-point underdogs?
Yeah.
Holy shit! Probably the Seahawks for the beast mode run.
Yep.
Yeah.
When they were a playoff team with a home game with a losing record, and they beat the fucking high-powered Saints in whatever year that was.
Now that's the betting line, so that's that varies some, but like Green Bay's favored over the Bears.
Weird.
Buffalo's favored over the Jaguars.
Why? What are we missing that the Packers are favored at Chicago?
Oh, because they should have won the game against Chicago. They should have swept Chicago in the regular season. Like the Packers the Bears just barely squeezed the win at home against the Packers. The Bears haven't looked the best. Like when you're talking about proximity, it's an hour and a half drive for the Packers to come down to Chicago. So like it's going to be 50-50 fans in the stadium. So, like, it's going to be a home game for the Bears, but it's not going to be as home of a game as others. It's the third matchup. I think they trust the coaching staff of the Packers more. But, yeah, I mean.
The Bears are the 2 seed, right?
Technically.
They don't just hand you the 2 seed. You fucking win enough games to become the 2 seed. I don't know. I get it. I'm not saying that I'm a better odds maker than Vegas, but that just seems weird to me that they're home underdogs as the 2 seed to a Packers team that's pretty fucked up with injury. But hey, Vegas knows what they're doing more than I do.
Yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting to look at, but
right, well, yeah. There's our picks.
So only disagreements again: Carolina for Patrick, Rams and I for Brian and I, and then I have the Chargers against my Patriots. You two have the Patriots. Those are only disagreements. It'll be very interesting to come see what happens come next week.
Yeah, fun to revisit.
So we'll dive into. I'm gonna jump into one of my wide receiver things. I have 2 wide receiver things for you. You know, being wide receiver one room for this off season. I'm going to go into into a quicker one. Then we're going to dive into some coaching vacancies. So it's not just me talking about my wide receiver stuff at the very end. So I really dove into the Fantasy Holics, going through stuff for rookie wide receivers. So I worked with some of our graphics people, came up with the new graphics for player profiles coming out of college. You'll be seeing these for all the rookies coming out on our Facebook page. That's why it's built in this manner and doesn't fill the screen, is because it's built for a Facebook post. But we'll be diving into these rookie profiles plenty in the offseason, plenty of great offseason content. And Patrick mentioned Nick Harbor as a very interesting prospect coming out of college, and wanted to just talk about my profile a little. I know then I'll leave it to Patrick to talk a little, and we'll kind of go from there. But looking at the profile of Nick Harbor, just diving through, starting at the ranks, I have an overall tier rank and obviously the class rank. Overall tier ranks rank from 1 to 4, 4 being a void. Now, there are 2 aspects that aren't applied into the model yet, which are obviously draft capital and draft team, which we have no idea yet. I'm expecting late round capital for him, but who knows? I take a bunch of stats to dive into this model, and these percentiles are so wonky, as you can see. These percentiles are against other top wide receivers in college. So you see, okay, he's 39% on targets, but he's 87th in depth of target. He's 82nd in yards per reception, but low first down. Like, he's all over the place in all of his stats. And I've never seen a profile out of everyone's I've done of this, which makes him a very, very interesting prospect in the extent of if he somehow can get a bunch of targets, which talent-wise would say that he won't. He has shown that he can do a lot with it. I think he's going to be a boomer bust wide receiver if he does anything, but that's the very interesting thing about these later round wide receivers is you put them on your taxi squad. If they go off for a week, you can flip them for a third round, or go off for 2-3 weeks, you can flip them for a second round before they really fall back to what they're going to be. I think that's going to be a very potential for Nick Harbor. Then kind of my presence tiers being your wide receiver archetypes. Dominance is your wide out wide receiver who's just going to go up get the ball from any defender, shake them off, throw them to the ground. Your deep targets, your efficiency, or your slot guys that are going to get you a bunch of targets, get you those first downs, and see that he's going to be a deep route runner that might get the ball thrown to him if he sees the field. But you're the one who mentioned him, Patrick. Is there anything that stuck out to you about him, or we're just interested in him to see?
He's fun to watch. He's 6'5", 235. The guy is gigantic. I mean, he might make DK Metcalf look undersized. He got a lot of separation, I feel that his stats were directly, obviously, Lenore Sellers was a really good quarterback prospect for a while. He's tailed off a bit, but I think the biggest thing that I've noticed over the last few years of watching more tape and film, separation. And if you don't get separation, you're nearly irrelevant. You're going to end up being, his name escapes me now, there was a, like, Xavier Leggett's not getting separation. He's almost irrelevant. Guys like Keon Coleman, healthy scratch. And there's another player that is escaping me that his career fizzled out. But the size and the separation, he's going to I think he'll turn some heads, especially if he goes to a situation where there's no clear-cut wide receiver one. You've got old wide receivers in Washington. You've got in the Raiders, they don't have a whole lot of wide receiver talent. There's places where Harbor could be almost a day one starter, so to speak. But if he gets the right system and the right coaching, he could be, third round rookie pick, has an awesome game, and you flip him. Or he could be a late round guy. A lot of people might not remember DK Metcalf didn't have the best profile in the world. He got a lot of knocks. His route running sucks. He's a little overrated. Amon-Ra St. Brown was a late draft pick. I think McLaurin was a later round draft pick. As the draft capital hater, I just trust the talent, watch the film. He's exciting to watch, and I will plant my flag on him at some point and be ready to face the music if I'm wrong, or brag if I'm right.
So, since I can contribute absolutely nothing to this conversation because I don't pay any attention to college football until like after Super Bowl when I start looking at rookies, I would just like to bring up a different Harbor. There was a blue chip high school quarterback prospect out of West Canaan, Texas, by the name of Lance Harbor. He played for the Coyotes of West Canaan, Texas, and he was well on his way to a D1 scholarship. He had some knee problems, and the coach kept having his knee injected and, putting Band-Aids on it. And sure enough, he tore his knee up. He ended up getting replaced by the backup quarterback, John Moxon. And he ended up having a pretty good season for the Coyotes, and they made it to the state title. And this, of course, is a movie called Varsity Blues, and Lance Harbor is played by Paul Walker, R.I.P., and Johnny Mox is James Vanderbeek. Paul Walker's girlfriend ends up putting on a whipped cream bikini to try to seduce James Vanderbeek because he's her ticket out of town now because, she wants to make it in the big time. So anyway, that's my whole contribution to this Harbor conversation. But post Super Bowl, I'll be able to chime in a little bit more on some of these prospects.
Yeah, just want to give an idea, show what is to be expected coming in the future. Really looking forward to diving into them even more. I would expect right now he'd be a late third, fourth round pick, but someone that you do that, throw him on your taxi, and hopefully reap some benefits selling a little later on. Just someone who thinks he might last longer, and I think it'll kind of be a short-lived peak for him. But who knows?
And to that I say this: the Combine, Pro Day, Dude has his shirt off. Oh my God, it's the next DK Metcalf. Oh my God, he jumped 21 feet. Draft stock rises, and then he's too expensive. But I can see that coming too.
Yeah,
You said this guy's huge, right? Like tall, giant. This is more of a basketball term, but you can't teach size. So
no.
Yeah. Very true. Very true. Okay. Diving into some coaching vacancies, playoffs ended 2 days ago, not even, and we have 8 coaching vacancies already. Let's kind of go favorite. If you're head coach looking at these, what is the one spot you're going to say, I'll pass on? And what's the one that you're like, give me that spot?
Well, the season ended a long time ago for the Raiders and the Titans, but I digress.
Fair enough.
I don't want anything to do with Washington. That franchise is just, the ghost of Dan Snyder still looms large. They just, they get something nice in Jaden Daniels, and then they screw that up. I don't know. You look every other. The Giants have youth. The Browns have defense. The Ravens have an electric, game-changing quarterback and running back. Washington is. I would take the Browns or the Titans over them.
For me, the two that I really don't want any parts of are the Browns or the Titans. I just think they're the two ugliest. When I look at the Browns, of course, sure, you have Myles Garrett, but he's over 30 now. He just set that record. What the fuck does he have to play for? They're not going to be competitive anytime soon. The Titans, Cam Ward, they just announced he has to have some type of shoulder surgery, so who knows what his offseason looks like. They have no fucking offensive weapons, and it's not like they're riding with a good defense either. They're in like a shitty small market, so it's just the bottom left corner there to your screen of the Browns and the Titans, I want nothing to do with. Just to touch on the other teams, the Giants, a lot of young, exciting pieces, including a quarterback. The Raiders, at least you have Max Crosby and Genty and Bowers. The Falcons, the number one pick. The Falcons, you've got Drake London and Bijan and Pitts, and they have a couple decent young defensive pieces. The Cardinals, you've got fucking Marv, and not that Marv's that exciting, but you've got the best tight end in football and Trey McBride. I don't know. Not that that's too exciting, but the Cardinals have a pretty high draft pick too. I'd take the Cardinals job over the Titans or the Browns. The Ravens are clearly the fucking best, the cream of the crop job to take. You've got a ready-to-win franchise and multi-time MVP quarterback. So that's the best one. And the Commanders, I don't disagree, Patrick. It's definitely down there in the bottom half. But when you have a young quarterback that has already shown that he can be like top of the league talent-wise, what he did his rookie year was not a fluke. He's that good. Just that alone makes the Washington job so much sexier than the Browns or Titans job. IMO.
Yeah, it's kind of tough where you have like a couple crappy jobs and a couple ones that are just above crappy, and then like 2 or 3 really good ones.
Yeah.
Like, for me, I could make a case for the Giants, Titans, Browns, and Commanders to all be the worst because they're all kind of towards the bottom. Whereas, as you mentioned, the Raiders have some great offensive weapons. Problem being, when you're looking for a contending team or you're looking for a team that's rebuilding over a few years, the last pieces you kind of want are tight end and running back. And that's where their stars are. And Max Crosby, who knows what's happening with him. Whereas similar things with the Falcons, you got Bijan, who's great, but you got London. Penix is injured, so he still might do things. And Kirk Cousins just redid their contract, so they might be able to move him. The Commanders, I kind of want to agree with Patrick on the Commanders. I love Jaden Daniels. I think he's going to do great. I think the problem is he's been injured twice. you're such an old roster that you're losing so many pieces. You just played Terry McLaurin. He didn't play half the season. Who knows if you trust your running backs? You have no tight ends. Your defense is all right. Like, I think for teams, I think right now the Commanders are a little ahead of the Titans and Browns, but the Titans and Browns, I think, have a little more going for them future-wise, kind of on the up and up, whereas the Commanders are just like, we did so well last year, we're trying to compete, and then they fell short, and they're so old, whereas the Browns and Titans both were like, we know we're crappy, we're rebuilding. So, like, at least they have a better identity, and I've already started towards that. So it really depends on what the coach can do for the Commanders. But yeah, I think easily Ravens is the top spot, and Falcons, I think, is 1B just with what they have.
So if you're John Harbaugh, the Falcons are probably the only choice, or he's just not going to coach. But humor me for a second. Does John Harbaugh take the Raiders job and get to coach against Jim twice a year, or the Browns and gets to stick it to the Ravens twice a year? Discuss.
I feel like Jim Harbaugh is the type of dude that he doesn't want to stick it. Or, sorry, is it John, or John is the one that just got fired? Jim is with the Chargers. Oh, I will never remember which is which.
Agreed.
He seems like a very high quality character dude that I see him wanting to stick it to the Ravens. I feel like whole 10 years from now, he'll bring up like how much he adores the Ravens organization and like he's thankful for what happened there and stuff. So I think he'd be more likely to go to the Raiders to just have the friendly brotherly rivalry. But that's a valid thing you bring up.
Yeah, I think, you know, it really depends on how he liked his relationship with Lamar. I mean, he was there for 18 years. He's the one who helped pick Lamar. He chose him over Flacco. I think there's a solid chance in that extent he's going to consider the Giants or Commanders because they have young running quarterbacks who have that arm. You have Malik Neighbors for the Giants. You have Scadaboo, who's looking good. Like, if you look at the Giants and Ravens, depending on how you look at it, the Giants are just a 5 to 8 year younger version of the Ravens. So that would be very interesting to see if he goes there. Whereas similar, you know, Jane Daniels, Russian quarterback, but they're just so old.
The Giants D line also has one of the best defensive tackles and one of the best edge rushers in football with Dexter Lawrence and Brian Burns.
Yeah.
Like, bad as their defense is, like, overall, they can party at the defensive line. Like, that's no joke. And like Thibodeau has been, I don't want to call him a bust. I feel like he's been hurt a lot, but like Thibodeau is a top 5 overall pick and like has played pretty well when he's there. So on top of those nice players that they have, nice pieces that they have on offense, I think the Giants are, to me, one of the best positions available.
Yeah, I said it was in the bottom 4, and as I started talking about it, I'm like, I'm liking the Giants more and more.
Yeah.
I think
they have the fifth overall pick too. I think they ended with the 5th pick. So
yeah, something up there.
They're going to lock up a stud offensive tackle or edge rusher or whatever they decide to do.
Yeah, as long as Scadaboo can stop bashing his head into walls.
Yeah,
I think he'll be good.
I'm not holding my breath on that one.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Okay. I think it's about that time, gentlemen. I think we need to review our hot takes that we did at the beginning of the year. Now, these are hot takes. We expected not a lot of them to hit. We expected these are our, you know, we're throwing this out there. We have some belief in it, but we're not saying this is going to happen. So, you know, we're not saying that these worked out well or not, but we like reviewing what we talked about. The good, the bad, the ugly of everything that we have discussed. We want to bring up, keep ourselves accountable. With that being the case, who would like to go first?
I'm fine for volunteering. I'm a big volunteer. I usually do that at work when they're like, can somebody want to take this or do that? I'm like, yeah, I'll fucking get out of the way. I also want to say, I don't know exactly when we threw these out there, but I want to say this was like a couple weeks before like draft season, probably like early August, late July,
a week or two before
week or two. Okay,
the NFL season started. I think it was
Okay.
after preseason ended is when we threw these out.
Okay, so before a game had been played, but pretty close to week 1. All right,
Yeah.
fair enough. So my first one, Drake London finishes wide receiver 1. Obviously, he didn't. He ended up having enough injuries that it fucking derailed his season. But he was pretty awesome when he was playing. I believe when I was just looking, he, even with the injuries, and I'm a big points per game, looking at points per game so much than like overall. With his points per game, he finished like 8th. But what was the where I'd like to take a semi-win here is before his bigger injury, the one that ended up keeping him out for multiple weeks there. I forget when that happened. I want to say it was like week 9 or 10-ish, where he ended up missing like 3 or 4 games. Right when that injury happened, he was sitting as like the wide receiver 3 in points per game because he had some monster games. And then the other one is he had back-to-back wide receiver 1 overall on the week finishes. I'm going to fucking grab that data real quick. But yeah, it was week 9 and week 10. Funny enough, against both of your fucking teams. It was against the Patriots and Colts. He was the wide receiver 1 overall in the week. So he's pretty awesome. I thought, I think if he stayed healthy and maybe if Penix was a little bit better, he really could have finished as the wide receiver 1. Drake London's really fucking talented. He ended up coming back. He missed 4 games in a row and then came back unhealthy and finished, 2 games with 5 and 1 point. So that completely fucking obliterated his average. But again, after week 11, when he went out with an injury, he was the wide receiver 3 on points per game. So I'll take that as a semi-win on a hot take.
Yep.
And then Dak Prescott, what was he? Was he quarterback 5?
Yeah, I think it was 5 on the season. He was, he was being drafted outside, I think, the top 15.
Yeah,
not the top 12. So,
not to toot my own horn or smell my own farts again, but I feel like that was a pretty close one.
Yeah.
Not too fucking shabby. And then my last one, I feel like I've become the Ashton Genty basher, but like, other than Bucky Irving getting hurt, this was another basically complete win for me.
Yeah.
And I mean, if we're looking at points per game, I'm quite sure Bucky beat him in points per game. So if you want to take that into effect, let's say, I can vet that.
Yeah.
If Bucky points per game.
I would think so too. Yeah. That's, Bucky Irving being injured, but even like, that it was kind of in reference to this take, just for reference, it was Ashton Genty in redraft was being drafted above all these running backs, and you're like, no way he finishes above them. So that's kind of the reference point of go back to beginning of the season. Genty was being drafted at the 1-2 turn ahead of these guys, and you're like, come on.
Yeah, I do have points per game pulled up in front of me in just normal PPR, and Genty 14.4 points per game, Bucky 13.8. So whether it was season total or points per game, Bucky was the only one that didn't get that take. Bucky was the only part of that take that wasn't completely right.
Yeah, I still might give you that head nod because if Bucky got injured mid-game, that still counts towards the average, but he didn't do well. That if you take that game out, I would guess Bucky jumps just barely above him. So I'm giving that to you.
Yeah. So all said and done, I don't want to sit here and fucking stroke my own fucking ego. That's not bad, man. When you said this earlier, I'd kind of like forgot about it. And I was like, that's not fucking bad for hot takes.
Yep.
It was too safe. Too safe.
I could have gone hotter, I'm sure.
You want to go next, Patrick? You want me to?
Yeah, I'll go next.
There we go.
So when we did these hot takes, it's, zany, say the craziest thing in the world that doesn't even have to make sense. You're just looking for clicks, and you're worried that you're like, oh my God, is somebody going to remember this take? Or am I going to have to face the music on this take? And yeah, I was right on Marvin. I didn't want to be right. It was little faith in Kyler and the whispers of Marvin not being really that good. And man, I hope Marvin gets traded to the Colts and just rebounds his career somewhere somehow. Marvin looks like he's in a bad place. I don't think he likes football anymore. He looks and sounds so defeated. It would have been nice to see him make good rapport with Jacoby Brissett, because Jacoby Brissett came out firing and looked better than Kyler Murray ever has. Marvin finished wide receiver 46 on the year, was hurt a ton. Marvin was still getting drafted pretty high in redraft. I'm sure he was a high startup pick, but the shine is off of Marv heading into 26.
Michael Wilson showed you what a real good wide receiver can do for that team.
Yeah.
Imagine having Kyler and Marvin, and then having just as good, if not better, stats with Jacoby Brissett and Michael Wilson, a player that had been on your bench for 3 years.
Man, how good was Michael Wilson?
He was. He will be overdrafted way too much next year, unfortunately.
Yeah. That was no one saw that. And yeah.
It'll be another year, though, where Marvin Harrison will be like gassed up in the offseason because he will have now slipped lower. So now he will be like a 5th-ish round pick. But then by draft season, he'll bump up to like mid-4 because everybody's like, oh, it's his year, man. He's so cheap. You got to draft Marvin Harrison.
Best shape of his life.
Oh, he's even bigger now. Have you seen his biceps? That means so much for his route running.
Yeah, like
stop taking that take out of my mouth saying Marvin Harrison's going to be a good buy low in the offseason. I mean, gosh.
Marvin Harrison gained 25 pounds of muscle, so he's slower. Oh man, Tony Pollard, I bought the dip. He had some really good advanced metrics last year. Yards after the tackle, missed tackles. He finished 13th in rushing yards, but fantasy-wise, I don't think he was a top 10 player. Buying into the Titans offense and at all, stupid take. I just wanted to say something zany, and if I hit, I would look like a genius. If I failed, well, yeah. Tony Pollard was running back 23 this year. Moving on to another.
Wait.
Hey, real quick, man. Tony Pollard. I wanted to bring this up to give you a little bit of kudos here.
Okay.
Week 14, 15, 16, 17, he had 151, 104, 102, and 85 rushing yards.
So good for playoffs.
Yeah, for fantasy playoffs. Like if somehow you managed to just keep him on your bench or somebody dropped him and you picked him up, Pollard was very serviceable. He was actually the running back 2 at Cleveland in week what week was that? Week 14. So yes.
He had 2 really long runs, and I'm like, oh, of course you did.
Yeah. Yep. Just want to bring that up. Like I was with you 100%. I definitely drafted a lot of Pollard and bought him a little low in the offseason. I obviously top 10 was a spicy take like we're looking for here, but I don't think I still don't doubt how good Tony Pollard is, and I think given the Titans' circumstances, I'm quite sure that we're probably looking at a Pollard Spears backfield again.
Yep.
With all the needs they have, why in God's name on a team that's clearly not ready to contend yet, similar to Dynasty Fantasy Football, why would you spend any draft capital or assets on a fucking running back if you have Pollard and Spears under contract, who are both solid, serviceable running backs who already are there and know the system? So I think better days ahead for Pollard. Dare call him a buy low for Dynasty. So I don't hate that one so much. I don't think it was a terrible take. I was with you on Pollard.
I have been a Pollard hater this entire time, but I've been a Spears hater more. I never bought into the hype of Pollard, but that bit me in the butt for 2 years straight before this year, and then for Spears, all this hype. I remember selling him for a high second in a couple leagues a year or two ago because everyone was hyped like, "Hey, you can't tear your ACL if you don't have it," and I'm like, "Yeah, but it's there for a reason." Like that, but
he still hasn't torn it.
Exactly. No, it's but I get the take, and repeat next year. It could happen.
And we'd assume that they're going to get better pieces around, and Cam Ward's another year and more comfortable. So, yeah, who knows?
No.
My bookend stupid running back take. I bought into the Tyrone Tracy hype. He looked good at times last year. He finished about the same pace this year. He did, however, finish running back 12 or better 4 times in the last 7 weeks. So if you somehow you could have had league winner Tony Pollard and Tyrone Tracy in your fantasy playoffs and really, really piss somebody off.
Yeah.
I'm playing a team that has Tony Pollard and Tyrone Tracy. I liked the Giants' offense. I didn't think that Scadaboo was going to make that much noise. He was a 4th-round pick for you draft capital folks out there. And then just the Giants got it their own way. I still think he's a talented guy, but he's never going to be a lead back that can handle a workload, a full workhorse workload with targets. And Scadabo is going to be 100% ideally in the next year. Yeah. Giants might add another big name in free agency. That they can't go into 2026 with just Scadabo and Tracy. And if they sign Harbaugh, they'll maybe have free agents flocking to the Giants to play in that system.
It would take entirely too long, but I guarantee you, if I went through all 25 or so of my Dynasty best ball leagues, there's at least one championship team that has Pollard and fucking Tracy as like the guys that dropped into their running back 1 and 2 slots for their whole playoff run.
Yep.
Just because of the way, there's no way somebody did that in a lineup league. No one had the fucking testicular fortitude or even made the playoffs. But in a best ball league somewhere, someplace, Tyrone Tracy and Pollard were the fucking RB1-2 for a championship team.
Yep.
Maybe my next day off, I'll dig through that and find an actual team that happened.
There you go.
And Tucker Kraft, he was well on his way to a top season. Injuries bit him. Thankfully, he hurt his knee early enough in the year that he should be a full go in training and start of the year. No pup nonsense. But Kraft is store brand Trey McBride. I like the offense better. I would take Kraft over Bowers right now.
Kraft was tight end 2 on point per game.
Yes.
That's a win in my books. In that case, we'll be diving into reviewing each of the 4 main fantasy positions over the next few weeks. Tight end will be the first one we cover. Yeah, Kraft, tight end 2, points per game. Granted, that was still like 4 points behind McBride because McBride was just phenomenal this year. But that I count that good check mark, bookend, good take.
Green check mark. Like my running back one, Bucky Irving, didn't beat him in points per game or on the season, so I can't get a full green check mark. The Tucker Kraft one checks out. He was Zach beat me to it. Tight end 2 in points per game. He was smashing. So that was a excellent call for a hot take, because where was Tucker Kraft? What was his ADP? I mean, he was
I don't
barely
know, but it was
starter, right?
low.
He was probably tight end 12-ish.
Yeah.
He finished as tight end 9 last year, and a lot of people say, "Oh, it was a fluke."
Yeah.
Now Matthew Golden's there, and Watson's going to come back at some point, and Jaden Reed. No, it was Kraft all along. Kraft is like their wide receiver 1A, essentially.
Yeah, when he gets the ball in any bit of open space too, he is a fucking animal. Like, he is so. It's fun as shit. Like, he's just taking people's heads off and like looking for contact and running people over, and yeah, it's fun. He's got Cam Scatterbo in him. Maybe that's why he got hurt. But yeah,
True.
yeah, he's fucking awesome. The Packers are a lot of good young pieces. Josh Jacobs is still under contract, regardless what happens this weekend, whether they win or lose. Hard not to think they have a good offense. We've talked about it more than once that it's kind of good for Jordan Love. It's tough to pick what receiver you want to start or whatever, but when Tucker Kraft is healthy, he's who you want there. You want to start Tucker Kraft. If he's on the field, they're getting the ball to him, and he's doing violent things.
Yeah. Love him. Okay. I'll go through mine. I gave a few more. I had some very interesting ones. I'll let you guys and the audience decide this first one about Rome Odunze outscoring DJ Moore. Odunze was injured the last 3-4 weeks. On a points per game basis, he's 2-3 points ahead of DJ Moore, but because Moore has had some big games and such, Moore has more points than Odunze on the season. I think what we saw with that was that when Odunze was on the field, he was the wide receiver 1, ahead of Moore. So that's kind of an awkward injury situation of a half. I would call it kind of a half check mark in that extent of it was a good call, but injuries kind of threw it off the rails. And I hate to say that for Moore. And I think the Bears, with how Burden's looking, how Loveland's looking, I think the Bears need to move more. And funny enough, I think one of the best spots for him to go to, which would be crazy, send him back to the Panthers. But I love Moore, but Odunze is for sure ahead of him on the depth chart when he's playing.
So that's a clear win for me. I'll give you the green check mark there. The only reason, well, you said points per game, he had him by a few, right? 2-3 points per game easily. And as much as I love DJ Moore, he's the couple big games he gave you, you probably had him on the bench. And the games that you relied on him because, okay, Rome's out, Burden's out, whatever, it was like, oh my God, this has to be a DJ Moore game. He gave you one catch for fucking yards or something. So 1,000%, Rome was over Moore. Now, I feel like it was probably drafted that way, though, no? If we're looking at ADP?
They were drafted back-to-back. I remember looking at it, going through, and yeah, it was they were both being drafted one next to another. If not, Odunze a little later.
Okay,
I'll do a quick look, but yeah, I think that's right.
Rome was definitely like rounds ahead of DJ, but in redraft for sure it was probably back to back. Yeah.
And I don't know why it had to be that way with Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams. I thought, well, it's going to be a fun, high-flying offense like the Lions. DJ Moore still got plenty in the tank. DJ Moore and Odunze combined for 7 games with more than 5 catches. Like, they didn't have to live that way. I was expecting the running game was probably better than expected. Loveland was a little bit better than expected. Yeah, I was disappointed by both of them, and I definitely thought that was a bold take there that Moore would still be the alpha, but that is a win.
Yeah, I definitely.
I take it back. Looking at Fantasy Pros, which has 3 different ADP sites, for redraft. DJ Moore on average was drafted as wide receiver 21 over all three, being sleeper and a couple other spots. Odunze was being drafted as wide receiver 37. So 16 wide receivers after is what
Rome was a sexy, hot pick this redraft season.
Sleeper ADP has him at wide receiver 37 on the season, 77 overall. DJ Moore was 48 overall, according to Fantasy Pros, looking back for last year.
Oh, fucking shit. I feel like I got to go back and look at my in person, we put the stickers on the board, redraft board. That seems fucking way off. But I mean, data's data.
Yeah, it could be. It's interesting. Yeah, even looking at fantasy data, which to show it's about the same. Moore's off the board around 50, Odunze closer to 40 or 75. I thought they were back to back. I didn't realize it was 2-3 rounds apart.
I mean, there's a lot of people like me out there that really fucking love DJ Moore, I guess. So
Yeah.
Fair enough. Well, listen, the next hot take here involving JJ McCarthy, I got to hit the head, so I'm gonna let you and Patrick fucking hash this out, but I'll be back in a quick.
Yeah. Hash this out like we did back when I brought this up, and I think when I brought this up with JJ McCarthy getting benched, I think you and I went back and forth for 10 minutes before Brian was like, "Okay, let's just wait and see what happens on the season." And again, because it's my take, I'm giving it a half green check mark in the extent of I don't think technically JJ McCarthy wasn't benched, but he also didn't look good. And I think if Carson Wentz didn't get injured, I think McCarthy would have been benched if Carson Wentz was still available. And there was even a week or two there where Wentz was starting, where McCarthy was questionable. I think the Vikings have noticed that McCarthy's not going to be the quarterback of the future. Justin Jefferson, who everyone thought was quarterback proof, became unplayable in fantasy when McCarthy was there. So for me, this is kind of a half check mark. I'm not going to give myself full props for it because technically what I said didn't happen, but I think it warrants at least some. Yeah.
I feel like this was a spite take because I was way too high on McCarthy. The quarterback whisperer O'Connell, nothing panned out. It was like JJ McCarthy is not good. It's crazy that a top 10 NFL draft pick in that system could fail that miserably. And in some of these injuries, they felt like injuries that he could have played through, and it was a soft benching in a couple of cases. So now he's played half of one season, and I think the writing's on the wall. He's already lost, and the Vikings probably are in the market for a quarterback already. I guess I should have listened more to the experts on. He's a handoff hero. This was a spectacular fail on my part and a good take by pretty much everybody.
So two green check marks for our boy Zach, I'd say, huh?
I gave myself half of one because it was mine, but because it was mine, technically he didn't really get benched, but
I feel like he got benched, but
yeah.
I think if Wentz wasn't injured, I think he would have gotten benched. I think we can agree on that.
Yeah.
But going to my third one, this was more statement on the wide receivers than the quarterbacks. I never expected Drake May to have an MVP type season. I was looking at this where people loved the Packers wide receiver core, even though it was crowded with Matthew Golden as a first round pick and, Christian Watson being big and such. And granted, Christian Watson was injured, but on the flip side, people are looking at Drake May needs help, washed up Stephon Diggs and nothing really else. But then you're looking towards the end of the season, Stephon Diggs did some great things for you.
I assume Diggs averaged more points per game than Christian Watson. No,
That's a good question. Let me double check that.
That's your check.
Yeah. I looked at just the. I didn't double check the points per game. I should have, but I mean, when you're looking at Diggs, he had over 20 points. In your
I've got points per game.
17.
I've got PPR points per game pulled up right in front. So let's find out. We've got scrolling down. Who's coming up first? Christian Watson averaged 13.3 points per game. Wide receiver 19 on the year. Diggs 12.4, 24 points per game. Or sorry, 24th in points per game. So
close.
Watson did get him, but I mean, that's certainly a valid, very close to being a correct hot take.
Yeah, Watson was that big. Yeah, thank you for bringing up the points per game. I thought Watson only missed 1 or 2 games, not he missed like.
Oh, Watson missed a lot, as he always does.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So I mean, you could also make a case that Diggs was more helpful for your fantasy team all year than Watson was, because Diggs was available all year and helped you most of the year.
Yeah. I'll give a half one with that.
Yeah.
In the extent of there, but it was, I mean, I think it was more Drake May than Stephon Diggs for the sake of him doing spectacularly. Drake May, I don't think anyone expected a quarterback 2-3 season by him and like that. Like he went off. So yeah, that's and then Cam Ward completely whiffed. I was thinking, Calvin Ridley would do well, that the offensive line could block, and that Titans team just fell into shambles so fast.
Zach, while I have the points per game pulled up in front of me, if you had to guess on points per game on the season, where did Cam Ward finish amongst quarterbacks? It wasn't in the top 15. I'll spoil that for you. But where do you think he finished?
26.
How about 44th? Because directly in front of Cam Ward, and now granted, some of these guys did not play full seasons, but starting Cam Ward at 44 per game, you had Davis Mills ahead of him. You had Tyrod Taylor, Phillip Rivers, Spencer Rattler, Jake Browning, Joe Flacco, Shador Sanders, Marcus Mariota, Mac Jones, Malik Willis, Tua, Gino. So, yeah, he was 44th in points per game because a lot of people get to play quarterback any given year. But Cam Ward did finish strong.
He had some nice flashes, but
nothing around him.
Yeah, that team just crapped out so hard.
Fired their coach. I mean, a toxic environment, basically. Like, it was good to see him finish strong.
Yep.
All the while, Mike Vrabel might be coach of the year.
Yeah. Why did they move on from him? Or did he might have resigned, honestly.
Yeah. To be honest.
When they traded the Eagles AJ Brown for Treylon Burks, he was about to quit that day.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh yeah. My final take, when I was thinking about it, I'm like, I want to say the Chiefs don't make the playoffs, but I feel like that would be so hateful. I think my wife would kill me because they're Bears and Chiefs fans. Like, I can't say that, but I'll say they don't win the East and call that good. And here I'm wishing I went a little hotter with it, but
green check mark.
I didn't expect them to fall apart that badly. I mean, Mahomes got injured. Granted, that was kind of by that point their season was already over, but it was their defense just didn't look nearly as good as it did previously. They had no run game, so the wide receivers could be better held in check. Like they almost need to do like a 1-year reboot this next year. Clear cap, get a couple defensive players, then get your running back. Like, I'm seeing some mock drafts with Love going to the Chiefs at, what is it, 8 or 9?
That's not
Nah, I won't have it. Reed won't operate that way.
No, I don't. I don't expect Andy Reid to operate that way. I think he needs to. He might even trade back and fill that defense up before really going there. I don't think he's going to go for a top running back. But I mean, that offense would be incredibly scary if they got that running back. But they have too many other holes that they need to fill otherwise. But yeah, I didn't expect that big of a flop that the Chiefs would get a top 10 pick. I just thought that they would be a borderline playoff team and not win the East. And the Chargers and Broncos just did amazing.
Here's how we get sexy Chiefs again. You've got dudes like Breece Hall at free agent in running back.
Yeah.
Dude, where if they sign him, if they give him a nice 2-3 year deal for like good running back money, where is he in like redraft and dynasty? I mean, my God,
it would be too high, but he'll be up there.
It'd be the same syndrome that when Clyde Edwards-Helaire got drafted at pick 32 to them, just to the moon. But we know that Breece Hall can actually play football. So, yeah, who knows? I mean, it seems like signing a expensive quote unquote running back isn't something that the Chiefs would do, but that's something that they need. And running back isn't that expensive anymore. And there's, other than Breece Hall, I feel like there's a few good ones out there in this class.
Agreed. Okay. The one last thing more I have for you, but we have for you, and I want to get your guys' thoughts, share, is that this offseason, I mentioned previously, I'm going to go through and dive into a wide receiver analysis on guys that did well and if they're going to keep doing well, overachieved, underachieved expectations, all these wide receivers. We have a bunch of question marks on, especially because I love wide receivers. And in that extent, Brian requested diving into Nico Collins. Now, I didn't probe into why, because I wanted to kind of dive into Nico Collins and see what I saw. And what I have for you is 6 interesting stats from last year versus this year and what we're seeing in Nico Collins' play, because he really broke out 2 years ago as a top 10 wide receiver. He was injured last year, but on a points per game basis, he was top 10. And he finished top 10 this year again. So we're thinking, okay, he's an amazing wide receiver. He's on the up and up. He's got great things going for him. And my analysis on him is to say, okay, is he going to keep doing this? Is he going to take a step back? Where do we want to look at him next year for redraft or buying him in Dynasty, and kind of diving in from there?
So the reason I wanted to bring him up, do you have the stats? There you go. So the reason I asked this is during the week you brought up, is there somebody that you wanted to talk about wide receiver wise, somebody you wanted a little bit of a breakdown on? And I brought up Nico for one specific reason. I have him in all in one Dynasty League, which is, I consider my my true love, my number one Dynasty League that I care the most about. And I also had him in my League of Record redraft league this year. So as someone that was relying on him in my 2 favorite leagues, it felt so up and down and hard to gauge. But I felt overall I was happy to have him. It felt like the missed games were really the only ones that fucked me over. He didn't have too many duds, but I wanted to see what it looked like when you really broke down the numbers. And I was quite sure that he took a step back from his big breakout season of 2024. But looking at the the actual numbers and the points per game and everything, I think he kind of ended up with his draft, his ADP for redraft. I don't think he you could really say that he excelled and beat out his draft price, but I don't think he fucked you over by any means, getting you 15 points per game.
Yeah. Before I dive into the stats, I want to correct what I said earlier. Nico Collins wasn't a top 10 wide receiver 3 years ago in his breakout year of 2003. He finished as wide receiver 12. But interesting fact, he finished at wide receiver 12 in PPR with just over 261 points. This year, he finished as wide receiver 8, so a higher finish with 226 points. 35 less points with a higher finish because the ceiling of wide receivers this past year has been lower.
Way down year for wide receiver overall. So, yeah, that checks out.
And in the middle of the year, 2024, he played 12 games. He only scored 16 less overall points than last year with 15 games. So what we're seeing is kind of a downslide for Nico. And when you're looking at his stats here, you even see that. His targets have dropped down almost 2 targets a game. Jaden Higgins is looking amazing. I've even heard some people say Xavier Hutchinson is the wide receiver 2 for the Texans. He's not. It's Higgins, but Hutchinson is a great 3. I mean, you're looking at receptions down 2 a game, yards down 25 a game. Even his yards after the catch is down. The only thing that has gone up is his depth of target, and that's similar to what I mentioned previously with Brian Thomas Jr., is his depth of target went up. They took these other wide receivers, put them in the shorter to mid routes, and said, "You're a great wide receiver. Go win on the outside. Go deep." And we're seeing that have a negative effect on these top wide receivers because you're not getting as much volume, and we know volume is king. I mean, when you're just saying go outside and run deep routes, if there's faster pressure on the quarterback, you're not even getting a look. Whereas if you run these shorter routes, which he did previously, you're going to get those looks much quicker in the quarterback's progression. Now, there is the fact Stroud had a down year. His completion percentage was there, but he had over 200 less dropbacks than last year. He had 1,200 less yards. He had similar touchdowns. So, like, Stroud did regress some, but the regression of Stroud isn't everything for the sake of why Nico Collins is going down. And so I truly question if Nico Collins is going to finish well last year. When you're talking about a down year for wide receivers and he finished top 8, I mean, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, that would have been a closer to wide receiver 20 finish. So he's someone I almost might be fading in the offseason because the one other factor is his availability and injury prone. Like, it's almost as if his body's being beaten up a little that he can't keep this going. I mean, I'm not discounting he has the talent. He is a great wide receiver. I think the ceiling, I don't know if I draft him as a top 10 redraft wide receiver next year. I think there's going to be some other great options up there. Depending on who's the quarterback for the Vikings, I think you go 50-50 with Justin Jefferson right now, depending on who's the quarterback for the Vikings with him. So it's a problem where I think they need to bring him to shorter routes, earlier in progressions, not just deep crossers, not just go routes, and kind of secure up that O-line a little for Stroud. Granted, when you're talking about the O-line for the Houston, at the beginning of the year, we thought they were doing horrible. But when we look at Stroud has 40 less sacks this year than last year.
Wow.
They ended up being a serviceable offensive line.
Yeah. Towards the beginning of the year, we're like
expectation.
Yeah, they did so much better. So, like, Stroud, 23 sacks versus 63, less scrambles, but just his overall stats were down. I'm loving Higgins. I think he's a great value buy because I think he's going to come up and kind of cut into Collins a little. But yeah, he's one. The numbers are showing a downslide on him, and I almost would agree that next year it might continue a little more, assuming he doesn't play 17 games, which he hasn't in his NFL career.
Yeah, I was going to echo his statements exactly. He's a lock to miss 2 to 4 games. The jury's still kind of out on Stroud. Collins had 2 big games with Davis Mills under center, and the Texans brought in Higgins and Noel. Hutchinson's not going away yet. Tank Dell may not be dead yet, and this team had no running game really to speak of. If they go out and sign a Kenneth Walker or a good, not great running back, there's going to be even fewer opportunities for Collins. And I'm just, might be a full round or two lower for me next year.
So the one thing I want to bring up that doesn't reflect on any of these numbers, and it's a major thing, is that the 2024 season, the Texans had I would say, respectable defense. In 2025, they have a phenomenal defense. They were playing a different brand of football.
Yeah.
So that I think that is something that you'll never see in a wide receiver stat line or mention really. So I think that does matter. And at the end of the day, Nico Collins did finish as wide receiver 10 in points per game. You know who he finished ahead of in points per game? CeeDee Lamb.
Wow.
And that doesn't matter with injuries because the games that Lamb missed, they don't count for his points per game. So Nico was better in points per game than CeeDee Lamb. So definitely a step back. But again, I think that their defense becoming like an all fucking world defense has a lot to do with needing to air the ball out and shit like that. So I don't disagree with the fact that his unavailability is probably the biggest thing working against him. And yeah, maybe they bring in a running back that lets them run the ball a little bit more. And if they start running and continue playing great defense, his targets overall could come down and he could take another step back by a little bit. But this is just, again, I really just on a whim when you brought up who I'd like to hear a breakdown about, Nico immediately crossed my mind because again I was relying on him in two of my favorite leagues and just wanted to see a deeper breakdown on it.
Yeah, and we'll have these breakdown posts on Facebook. It'll be really written out, diving into a lot of different factors, and I think that's a good factor to mention is the Houston defense. And I think that plays another factor into why Nico didn't do as well is if his depth of target, if he's running deeper routes and their game plan is rely on our defense, we don't need to make these deep shots. That's an even bigger detriment to his success.
Yep.
That I think bring him back to those mid routes where he was having some amazing yards after the catch, those shorter crossers, curl routes. That's where he succeeds. You can have him out wide and still do that and open up this offense so much more utilizing the talents of Nico Collins. And I think that's what the Texans really need to do. And we'll see if that happens.
As I mentioned about that college kid we were talking about, Harbor, you can't teach size, and Nico is a fucking giant. Like when you're watching the Texans game or the Texans come on red zone, you don't have to look that far to find out where Nico Collins is lining up because he's as tall, if not taller, than the entire offensive line. Like he's a big fucking dude.
Yeah. No, I love the pick. The few that are on the top of my mind that I'll be doing earlier on in the next month, Brian Thomas Jr., Lad McConkey are two big ones as to what happened to them and what's going to happen to them. Spoiler, I think Brian Thomas Jr. resurges next year. He fits he fits a category in my model that is a third-year breakout. And so, sure, he broke out year one, but he fits a third-year breakout. That same category with London, who had a third-year breakout and other things. So that's going to be very interesting to see. So Lad, I haven't looked into Lad at all, so that's going to be very interesting. I mean, two great wide receivers that went down. I'm sure I'll dive into Marvin Harrison Jr. at some point, see what's going on with him. Michael Wilson, Parker Washington are going to be on my list to see if we can expect that or if that was a fluke or whatnot. So it's going to be a fun-filled offseason for wide receivers coming from me. Expect that, see that coming, and then we'll dive into a lot of the rookie wide receivers too. Be posting once or twice a week on all that. Looking very excited for that.
Very nice.
Wonderful. Anything else? I think that's everything from us. Any last thing we want to say or mention?
Our first 3-man official fantasy off-season episode, and all during the season we didn't have anything to touch on outside of just spending 2 hours on like the breakdown and the preview of the next week. So this I love, man. This is why dynasty football is my favorite way to fantasy, because you can spend everything from week 17 all the way till the following week 1 just breaking shit like this down, hedging your bets and looking at rookies and making trades, and fucking love it, man. We're here for it, and we'll be with you all off season.
Doing that homework and the deep dives and like looking at all the statistics and graphs and doing a week's worth of research and being exactly right. That's just
And hey, last thing, cheers to all 3 of us on our spicy hot takes, because they were all pretty fucking decent. Like, I mean, for hot takes, I'd say that was pretty impressive overall.
For sure.
Absolutely.
Can't wait to do it again this year.
Yeah, sure we'll do worse next year, but hey, we'll leave on a high note like George Costanza, man.
Yep. Sounds great.
Thanks for tuning in,
Great
man.
night, everyone. Cheers.
Tuesday.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good night.